mean, before even getting to full stack development, I know a lot of people. I mean, when I was in my early years of engineering, there's this a very strange kind of a feeling which we go through, which is that there's this software development as a field, software developers as professionals who work on computers all day. They have big, fat, thick lenses on their eyes, and they really don't move much, but they sit at one place and work. Yes, we did not have a lot of clarity at that time. However, times have changed. And I think this workshop today is going to give you an idea. This workshop is going to give you a high level overview of what is full stack development. How do you, how can you get into making a career into full stack development as a web developer? And what are the career options if you plan to become a web developer? Needless to mention, this is today it is the highest paid profession across the globe. We will talk about those things. However, to start out with, just to give you an idea, full stack developer is basically a mixture of variety of skills. When I say variety of skills, and I also, a lot of times I start my classes with my students, I tell them this, that it's all about vitamin S, where S stands for skills. So vitamin S is what you need to become a full stack developer. It is an attractive career. However, it is a lot of skills, put into one person, one individual. Let's see what do I mean by that. So what does it mean to be a full stack developer? So a full stack developer is a person who can complete a project independently. So when I say complete a project independently, I'm talking about being able to make something, then that is create something, then manage it, and also be responsible for delivering it. I am talking about a person who has server management skills, who is an engineer who can handle all the work of databases, servers, system engineering, and the client sides. Yes, you can say that this is one guy who is a very rare of an expert. So there's another misconception, or maybe a myth, that revolves around full stack development today. So this person, he's not a magician, please understand. So when I teach full stack development, a lot of time kids come up with this question, that okay, so are you saying that this person has to be skilled in every and all aspects? Well, no. This person, to use a proverb here, is supposed to be a jack of all trades but master of none. However, while developing oneself towards becoming a full stack developer, there are a lot of channels. It's just like tributaries of a river. So as I said, it's all about vitamin skill, vitamin S. So when you are developing certain skills, you can always take another path and not be aiming for the full stack developer, because a full stack developer, as I am going to tell you right now, primarily would require to master CSS, HTML. Have you heard of CSS, HTML? If you have heard of CSS, HTML, would you tell me, would anybody know what is the latest version of HTML and CSS? I mean, Roshan can take the answers from you.
Yeah, yes, I can do that.
Mhm.
HTML is 5
Mhm.
and CSS is 3.
Brilliant, thank you. And CSS is 4 actually. The latest version is also a professional version, which mostly deals with themes. It was launched in March 2017. That's CSS 4. Also, when we are talking about primarily mastering these skills, it also requires an individual to additionally master server side of the programming, the browser side of the programming, and the databases. I'll repeat it again. So what does it mean to be a full stack developer? Is a web developer, a person who's a primary a developer who can develop both server side and the client side applications, and also be able to manage. So now let me take you to a little more insights of how, as Roshan correctly answered, the commonly used platform for styling is CSS3. Even today, you can see the on the slide also. So we mostly use CSS3, where we are able to have color palettes and various versions of creativity that you can come up with. However, the latest version, which is CSS4, has predefined themes, predefined color themes. Yes, you can go and change the colors if you want to. However, these days there are bootstrapping and there are other technologies which has come into picture. We will look at all of that while going through the course. But when you're using CSS4 and HTML5, there are a lot of things which are done already. So we don't have to waste a lot of time in reinventing the wheel. Hence, coming down to the additional side of a full stack developer, which becomes a little more technical, because I have a variety of students who are who are into full stack development with me, and a lot of them, trust me, a lot of them, they break at the css html and php. They'll just pull one of these icons, if you can see. So I'm talking about an server side programming. PHP is the most common. However, things are changing. Python being the most powerful now. Node.js, ASP.NET have been there in the market, and yet still there are a lot of web applications, a lot of websites which run on the servers of those websites run on these technologies. Now, if I can quickly give you an example of how powerful, when I said Python is the most powerful now, so we use Google, we use YouTube most of the time. Now, the algorithm which is powering both of them is Python. So that's how powerful Python has become. It is also used in artificial intelligence, data science, machine learning, and stuff like that. When I'm talking about browser side of the programming, most of the browsers understand JavaScript. Now, before I go there, about the server side of programming, if somebody has a question of why do I need a server programming, on a very layman's term, I'd like to tell you that the server, these HTML pages or the CSS based HTML pages that we create, the server basically serves those to the client. They use those HTML pages to the client. That is how the server would the server side of the programming would handle. So when there is a query through the website, there's yes, nowadays Django is replacing PHP. I won't say Bonesh has that question, but then I would not say it is replacing PHP, because let me tell you one very interesting fact. So Bonesh, there's this WordPress websites which helps you create your own blogs and websites. Also, the complete thing is a tremendous success in the web development field today, and the entire thing works on PHP. It has got nothing to do with Python or Django. But yes, Django with Flask is turning the wheels around. You're right. Also, PHP still has a very evident footmark into the web designing domain. So not spending much time on that, we will talk more about these once the course starts. Now, towards the browser side, most of the browsers, as I said, they understand JavaScript. So yes, when we're talking about Vue.js, we're talking about jQuery, we are talking about JavaScript. These are versions. If you've done JavaScript, Angular is also something which is evolved out of JavaScript. So if you've learned JavaScript, you will be pretty much what is the difference between jQuery and JS? I'll take that question. It needs more of an explanation. Let me complete this slide. Yeah, Bhunesh? Okay, so Angular, jQuery, JS, and Vue, these are most commonly used programming languages for when we talk about browser programming. The browser side of the programming is basically interpreting, and it is visible to the client. It is not backend, it is the front end. Database, the last, not the least, and I've just taken up a few examples here. Basically, database programming or databases are two types. They are relational and non-relational databases. So when we're talking about the only difference, let me quickly give you the difference. That is, relational databases. They are they are the data, your data, which could be text, it could be images, and which could be anything that is related to data, is stored in a linear manner. That is, you'll have to use codes to join them to retrieve the data and to save the data. Relational and non-relational databases. In a non-relational type of a database, the data is arranged in tables in a tabular format, where it becomes easier for for the programmer to fetch data based on the location of the particular piece of data from the database. Now, both are used. I can't say this is good and that is bad. As I said, imagine full stack development as the river and the tributaries. So no, you can't learn everything. You cannot be a master of all. You have to be a jack of all trades. When you say so, in my experience as a programmer in multinational organizations like Hewlett Packard and IBM, we've interviewed a lot of full stack developers. But trust me, in my entire career, I might have found 2 or 3 expert full stack developers who are really domain experts. And let me tell you what their expertise was. They used to be experts in specific domains. So I've never seen an expert who knows ASP.NET, PHP, Python, Node.js, all of it, and he's an expert on it. No. Neither have I got an expert who's an Angular expert but knows jQuery and JavaScript, and is a Vue expert also. Again, databases also. A lot of people use a MySQL, SQLite. Rarely do we find MongoDB experts, but you don't find an expert who's an expert in all of that. So if you have that question, let me tell you that it is not that you want to become an expert of all of this. However, you pick and choose. There's a front end full stack developer, there's a back end full stack developer. Front end guy might not need to. So we will discuss that in the later slides. Now, along with this, as I had mentioned about relation, so MongoDB is a relational database, and all of these are a non-relational database, and all of these are relational databases. Along with this, there is something which we need to very importantly understand is it doesn't stop here. You have to be an attractive designer. You have to be a person who can design engaging and attractive stuff. So for example, I may be an excellent programmer who has got brilliant algorithmic logic, and I am a very poor designer. That is, I don't have that knack of designing brilliant, choosing brilliant colors, or making brilliant designs. Then as a full stack developer, I do have a challenge. The challenge is that I would make a very brilliant I will make a very good back-end programmer or a server-side engineer. However, I might not be a very good front-end developer. Hence, I have to engage with a front-end developer who's good with CSS, HTML, and some browser programming like JavaScript. And then both of the programmers have to join their efforts together to make a project. However, as I said before, so let me ask that question again. So who is a full stack developer? full stack developer is a person who can develop both sides, that is the client and the server side software. So you should be able to program the client side as well as the server side. And I think I can answer the question now. So what is the difference between jQuery and JavaScript? jQuery is not different. It is a JavaScript library. Yeah. So it is a library which uses JavaScript, which JavaScript uses, and the library is used for selecting HTML tags and event listeners, animations, and stuff like that. So I hope that answers your question. Now, the next slide, or I'm proceeding further with the trends now, which is going on these days. Now, let me talk about the trends, the latest trends in web development, which I'm sure we all need to know. Uh, JavaScript, as I said earlier, most of the browsers they understand JavaScript. Artificial intelligence integration is happening a lot these days. That is, if I take an example for Netflix, it integrates a lot of AI to give you predictions of the kind of series, the movies that you watch. Progressive web applications are a lot common these days, where the applications are intelligent enough to develop or throw ads according to the preference of the client. Blockchain has come up brilliantly. So I'll take a little time to explain how that works. Blockchain has come up for security web apps. Now, uh, just giving you a very layman's overview, blockchain is basically security by blocks, using blocks. So it's a chain of digital blocks, which is every block is connected to all the blocks, and security is based on packets of these blocks as they exchange. It's a brilliant new way or new methodology which is discouraging hackers globally, and it has come up as a paradigm for secure websites, secure web apps these days. So if you're looking for a career in secure, web security, back end of a front end of a full stack development, security, blockchain is the next generation. So also some tools in CSS, as I said, Bootstrap and Materialize are basically theme-based tools which are available. We've got JavaScript and Python coming up on server side. Netlify and GitHub are good with hosting now. People are opting for them as we're talking about trends. PostgreSQL, Flutter for mobile development, and Python. Not even TensorFlow. I have put TensorFlow on my slide, but TensorFlow's second version, that is the second version of TensorFlow, is more user-friendly. TensorFlow 1 is a little techy with respect to its syntaxes. You've got to learn a lot of new syntaxes. However, with Python, if you've done any kind of a programming language, if you've ever learned a C, C++, you're good with Python. Next, I'll take you through how this whole thing is organized. This slide will give you a picture of what career opportunities, or how a full stack developer does all of this at once. So it comprises of front end, back end, databases, DevOps. I'll explain DevOps because that's something which most of the people don't know maybe, and mobile app development, which also is a latest trend. Now, when I'm talking about front end development, we've already seen how it goes with a lot of CSS, JavaScript. Backend is somebody who works majorly on the server. As I mentioned before, uh, server programming language runs on the server and serves the HTML to the clients. Databases, again, backend, where the programmers use active databases. Their programs communicate with the database, fetches the data. Also, so it's both storing the data as well as fetching the data. Importantly, DevOps. Does anybody have an idea of what is CI and CD? CI is basically continuous integration. So DevOps, if I split this term into two, so after today, you will not, anybody asks you about DevOps, you will have an answer. So DEV is basically software development. Ops is information technology operations. So if I combine both, that is software development and information technology operations, it becomes DevOps. And that is what AWS, that is, Amazon Web Services, there's IBM Watson, uh, there is Google Web Services now coming up. These are integrated. So CI is continuous integration, CD is continuous development. So these are web spaces, these are web services which are available, and through them there's continuous integration of platforms, continuous integration of applications happen, as well as development which is parallelly going on. So there are programmers who are sitting live on the websites. It is not like you make a website for 15 days and then host it for another 3 days and then it comes live in the ninth day. No, it basically takes up live issues, solves them live, and then are deployed live on the website. That's where DevOps is. It's a brilliant field. A lot of vacancies which come up, and needless to mention, good fat salaries. Last not least, mobile app development. You know Android, iOS. You use Android, iOS. Maybe a lot of people are using it right now. Uh, is the next paradigm where front end or full stack developers are very highly required. They are very highly engaged for making hybrid applications which run on a PC, on a laptop, on different machines, as well as your Android or iOS devices. I will not go in details of so there's Django lying right there on the backend development for somebody who asked me the question. So I'm not going to go into these technologies to further confuse you. I'm probably would go to the next slide. A quick overview of, now I'm going to a far more layman's terminology of what do you need to do all of this. Frankly speaking, you don't need much. You need a computer, you need an internet connection, you need a browser, you need to know how to code, you need text editors and or independent development environments, IDEs for that. You should be having terminals to publish, which is the designing softwares like for publishing you might need an Adobe Photoshop. If you don't want to use a paid software, there's Inkscape. There are other designing softwares that we use. Basically, you need a computer rich with certain applications, which is latest configurations, and has a stable internet connection. And yes, you need to know how to code alongside designing. Next is the most interesting, and I think a lot of people would want to know about this particular. It would be interesting for you. So a job role for a full stack developer, so if you remember, I said a full stack developer would need to know a lot of things. So he has to be a master of a lot of trades. So a jack of all the trades and masters of none. Hence, most of the freelance work. So most of the full stack developers, they go for freelance because uh, since they do all the work by themselves, it works better for a freelance individual. The kind of money that they earn is right in front of your screen. So an amateur or a newbie freelance a full stack developer earns around $45 an hour. To an experienced full stack developer who can go into WebGL and iOS programming can earn up to $150 per hour. However, if we are looking at jobs into organizations, there are three levels in which these jobs are stacked. That is, the entry level jobs got front end developers back. So these are job roles. These are, if you're looking for jobs on a job portal, these are the keywords that you would want to use. That is, front end developer, back end developer, database admin, and DevOps. I told you about DevOps in the last slide, and mobile app developers. When you grow up and when you grow up the ladder into web development. So that is about 5 plus or 6 plus years. You get into the ability to ensure what are the SLAs, the service level contracts, agreements, and also monitor these systems. So you more get into more of a monitoring kind of a engagement when we are talking about a mid level. A senior level, however, is an expert. These are a good 10 plus 12 plus years experience. So I when I came out of my regular jobs, I resigned from a serial level. So I was involved in code in mentoring the entry levels. I was involved in a lot of trainings. I was involved in code reviews, and I was able to work with the middle level managers to help them do code reviews. A lot of senior levels are majorly leadership roles in full stack development. So yes, they might not be doing a lot of coding, but their work is exuberantly difficult because they handle a lot of monitoring and research work. So they have to be excellent and extremely brilliant coders, for that matter, extremely brilliant professionals who can code. I'm proceeding to the next slide, assuming that you've noted down your questions. I'll take a quick case story when I'm talking about jobs with full stack development. If you can see, that is the kind of salaries. I spoke about how much does a freelancer earn. I'm now talking about salaries that a web developer looks at when you're applying for work outside the country and when you're applying for work within India. On the left hand side, if you can see this screenshot I've taken from Indeed, and it is very new. It's latest from 2019. That's where a full stack developer is placed. That is, it's almost the uh, seventh most looked up job. However, what I wanted to tell you is, while studying or while learning, while investing in yourself about full stack development, you can choose to, drive away yourself on any of and all of these. So what I mean to say is, let's say you've taken up this master's course from Skill-Lync, and during the course you decide, okay, fine, maybe I won't be able to either I won't be able to, I'm not interested becoming a full stack developer, say. I can move into software engineering. I can go into system engineering and development. So, and just not there, you can go into a front end development, a product management. Leaving these two aside, you can get into quality assurance, and you can also go into uh, development operation engineering, senior systems engineering. So that's how brilliant this course would be if you're looking towards becoming a full stack developer. Again, last, but this is the slide where I want to spend much of my time, because you know leaving the technologies aside and all the jargons that I may have used during my presentation, it's very important to understand this on a very grassroots level. How to become a full stack engineer? As I said, they are highly skilled experts in the web development world. So a full stack engineer is really looked upon when it comes to, you know, uh, 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 web development. Why is that so? That's because they use both of their left and the right brain. There's a brilliant combination of your left and the right brain. And I'm sure you already. So, what does the left and the right brain do? Quick question. What does the left brain do, and what does the right brain do? What is the significance of a left and right brain?
Left for logic and right for creativity.
Brilliant. So, that's where a full stack engineer has to use logic when he is writing codes and programs. Alongside, he has to be creative with respect to the design. As I said in my second slide, that a full stack developer also has to make engaging and creative designs. on so when you go to a website like we have our Skill-Lync website. If you walk up to that website, it's very engaging for a person who walks up and looks at the website. It's very engaged, the content is very engaging. The designs, the colors are very soothing to your eye. They are not loud colors which offend a client. So it's very beautifully done. Understand there are two types of people involved in that task. One is the person who's doing the back end work. The one is the person who's doing the front end designing. It's very extremely, it's done in CSS, HTML, but a lot of designing work also happens in Adobe Photoshop. And as I said, other designing softwares. Uh, a beautiful design will help your brilliant logic code to come up. you know Otherwise a logic code can be very dull if the designs don't work. So again, how to become a full stack engineer? First, you have to invest on yourself. You have to learn how to code. If you already have done certain programming languages, brilliant. Proceed with. So it's a lot of learning. I have seen self-taught full stack engineers. I've also seen certified full stack engineers. And trust me, on my 15 plus years of experience, there's a huge difference. A self-taught person learns everything which is freely available, and understand experience is never freely available. So yes, there's a lot of free stuff around, but they don't give you experience. Experience can never be put into books. It can never be put into a compiled work. So you really got to invest in yourself if you're looking at a serious career. Next is you have to sharpen your skills and choose a path. When I say choose a path, if you remember my slide number 2, where we saw a lot of programming languages on the server side, on the browser side, and on the databases. But as I said, choose a path. Choose one each if you're looking at a full stack developer, and master them. Don't learn everything and then become a jumbled person. Because I let me give you a quick example. When I'm talking about JavaScript and Python, they are very different in their syntax. Python uses very simple syntaxes. However, JavaScript has got some complicated syntaxes. So if I say, oh, I am an expert in Python, maybe I know JavaScript, it's all right, but I can't be an expert in both. And if still I'm an expert in both, then I'm a very rare commodity. So my advice is choose a path. You know, uh, Even in full stack development, where there are plethora of languages to learn and technologies to understand, choose a path. Choose one each and master them. It'll help you not just to be there's one question that kids keep asking me, that okay, if I choose a path and if tomorrow I go through an interview and they say, okay, do you know this technology? Oh, you don't know that. If you learn one each out of those brackets that I have made, trust me, you'll be able to be flexible enough to jump into another one. You'll quickly learn another one. However, if you from the beginning, if you start learning bits and pieces from everything, you'll end up with knowing nothing, to be frank. Yeah. So that's where my first step is what I recommend. On my second step, earn your degree, get a professional certificate. And please understand, earn it. When I say earn it, do a lot of project work. In my classes, if I'm teaching for 60% of the times, 40% of the times is when I give people projects. So I help my students develop their own projects. And yes, there will be mistakes, and those will be the learning, the learning path for us. Yeah. Publishing your work is very important. Improving on your English communication, soft skills is important, because there's a lot of talking through your work and also through your language that you speak. There's a lot of talking that needs to happen, uh, both from the client side, that is who will give you feedback, and from your employer who would give you work. A lot of work comes from the US, from the Western countries. Hence, it's an important aspect. However, and the third point, as I've written, you must have seen less English, more data. Here, I'm talking about your portfolio. You should have a lot of portfolio on your profile that you make. Portfolio means you should have active web apps that you have created and hosted. So let's say there is a web app, I'm just taking an example, that you have made, which converts kilometers into miles. So people that mention of those web apps, not one but many, it should be dynamic. So it should have less talking about, so that I know this, I know that, less of that, and I have made this, I have made that, more of this. Yeah. Least but sorry Last but not the least, join in a junior level, and then never stop the step number one and step number two. Keep repeating that. So it's okay to join on a junior level. Don't always look for a senior level job. It's okay to join at the junior level. Move up the ranks when you so you don't become what I mean to say is, you don't become a full stack engineer at once. you know get into maybe a front end development, then move into back end, then gather some experience on databases, and then eventually investing into yourself, earn a lot of certificates, publish a lot of work, and then eventually apply for full stack developer. Eventually you should get a good 5 to 9 years of experience in your bags, and then claim yourself to be a full stack developer. And as I said, and you mentioned that left is logic, right is creativity. It takes a lot of time to build up that combination between your left and a right brain. Hence, net, give it some time, learn your basics, very important, publish your work, make your projects live, and there you go, you should have it.